Asaph. His name might not be as familiar as David's or Solomon's, but his influence is undeniable. Asaph was a key figure in Israel's worship, deeply involved in praising the Lord through music and song. But who was he, really? What did he do, and why does his role matter to us today? Asaph was a Levite, specifically from the tribe of Levi, the group chosen by God to serve in the temple. His role? He was a chief musician and a seer, someone who not only led worship, but also had the gift of understanding God's messages. Asaph was appointed by King David himself to oversee the music in the temple. Imagine being handpicked by one of Israel's greatest kings. Asaph's primary responsibility was to lead the singing during worship, ensuring that the people's hearts were directed toward God. His songs were not just melodies, they were acts of worship, carefully crafted to honor the Lord. Now, you might wonder, why Asaph? Why did God choose him? The Bible shows that Asaph's heart was aligned with God's purpose. He wasn't just a musician, he was a man after God's own heart, much like David. His dedication to worship was about more than music. It was about guiding Israel to acknowledge and revere the Lord in everything they did. Asaph understood that worship wasn't just a routine, but a powerful way to connect with God, to express gratitude, and to seek his guidance. Asaph's work is preserved in the book of Psalms, where we find 12 psalms attributed to him. These psalms are not just ancient songs, they are deep, reflective pieces that reveal Asaph's understanding of God's justice, mercy, and the struggles of life. He didn't shy away from expressing sorrow, confusion, or even frustration, but he always returned to the truth of God's goodness. This honesty in worship is something we can all learn from. It's okay to bring our whole selves before God, knowing that he can handle our emotions and guide us through them. But what about the time and place? Asaph served during the reigns of King David and Solomon, a period marked by the establishment of the temple in Jerusalem. The temple was the central place of worship for Israel, the very house of God. Asaph's music filled this sacred space, helping the people of Israel to focus on the Lord's presence among them. The temple wasn't just a building, it was a symbol of God's promise to dwell with his people. And Asaph, through his music, played a vital role in making that promise a reality in the hearts of the people. Asaph's legacy doesn't end with his own life. His descendants continued in the same role, serving as temple musicians for generations. This shows that Asaph's influence was not just about his personal talent, but about establishing a tradition of worship that would last long after him. His family carried on his commitment to leading Israel in praising God, proving that true worship is something that can be passed down and cultivated in future generations. Is there a type of Christ in Asaph's life? While Asaph was not a direct type of Christ, his role as a mediator of worship points us to Jesus, who is our ultimate mediator between God and man. Asaph led the people in worship, bringing them into the presence of God through music and song. Jesus does this on a much grander scale. He brings us into the very presence of God through his sacrifice and ongoing intercession. Just as Asaph's music brought comfort, guidance, and a sense of God's presence to the people, Jesus brings us peace, direction, and a relationship with the Lord. How do we connect with Asaph's legacy today? The answer lies in understanding the power of worship. Worship isn't just about singing songs, it's about focusing on God, acknowledging his greatness, and responding to his goodness. Just like Asaph, we can use our talents, our voices, and our hearts to honor God, to remind ourselves of his amazing love, and to encourage others to do the same.